morning, everyone, and welcome to At America. Can we give a big round of applause for today? Thank you so much for coming early in the morning to At America. And again, welcome to At America. We are the U.S. Embassy's American Center. This is the place for you to learn more about the United States. With me, Patricia Elizabeth, as the e-guide for today's event. And thank you all for joining us today, especially from Alegria Music School. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for coming to this exciting and inspiring event titled Music Beyond Borders, Exploring Music Careers and Education. In this event, you can hear from experts on career options and insights for aspiring classical musicians. Also, in this discussion, it's more than just a talk. It's a deep dive into what it really takes to pursue a musical career and what it takes to get there. So without any further ado, I will invite our moderator for today. She is a president of World Piano Teachers Association Indonesia. Everyone, please welcome Dr. Edith Widayani.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. It's such a wonderful morning, wonderful Saturday morning here. I have three friends. I would like to say friends by now. Yes, friends. I have three friends with me today that I would like to introduce. That will be our panelists today. The first one is Ayunia Indri Saputro, pianist and doctoral pre-candidate in piano, pedagogy, and performance in University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. Just a tiny bit, I'm going to introduce Ayu. Ayu is a pianist and educator from Surabaya. She earned her Bachelor of Music in Piano Performance from the University of British Columbia and received the Robert Rogers Prize and Marnie Carter Music Scholarship. She also holds a master's degree from the University of Michigan and was awarded the Joanne Smith Award in Teaching. She serves as the chair of the 2025 MTNA National Symposium, a member of the MTNA Young Professional Advisory Council, and a foreign correspondent for WPTA Indonesia. Please welcome Ayunia. My second friend is Daniel Adipradhana, an educator at the Resonanz Music Studio. Daniel is an active chamber musician and collaborative pianist based in the UK and Indonesia. He has performed with renowned musicians and choirs internationally, including in the US and in Europe. Daniel holds a Master's of Performance in Collaborative Piano from the Royal College of Music, London. And Daniel has won the first prize in the Joan Chisel Schumann competition and received the Best Student Pianist Award at the Brooks van der Pump English Song Competition. Please welcome Daniel. And then last but not least, my third friend is Professor Christopher Harding, who's a pianist and professor at the University of Michigan School of Music in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Christopher Harding is a pianist and professor at the University of Michigan with an international career spanning solo, concerto, and chamber music performances. He has performed at venues such as the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., Suntory Hall in Tokyo, and the National Theater Concert Hall in Taipei. His concerto appearances include engagements with the National Symphony, St. Louis Symphony, and Tokyo City Philharmonic under conductors including Andrew Sewell, Giselle Bendor, and Taijiro Iimori. Harding has collaborated with musicians such as Carl Leister, Andres Adorjan, and members of the St. Lawrence and Ying Quartets. Please welcome Professor Christopher Harding. Okay. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hello. Okay, so this is going to be a very informal conversation between us, all four of us, actually, about pursuing music education in a higher institution. A lot of people, and I think I know this, speaking from personal experience, I want to say like more than a decade. I think there are a lot of Indonesian musicians, Indonesian young musicians that really want to study abroad and really pursue music at a very high level. But either they don't know where to ask questions first, they have a lot of questions, but they don't know who to ask. So this is the time for everyone to kind of like talk and see what it is and how to build your career in music, how your path in music is not always just very one-dimensional. It's also possible to pursue different things within music itself. So if any of you guys here or online have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand during our conversation. We would really like for everyone to be involved in this, because as much as I think I know what the questions are, sometimes you just have to ask the questions yourself too. So I'm going to start with Professor Harding, if you don't mind. A lot of the times when we want to go to school for music, all of us, I think in everybody's mind is like, am I good enough in order for me to be a musician? So if you can give us kind of like a sneak peek from the other side, because for us it's just like we're the students in this sense, and then we're just like, how can we prepare? What level should I be? What are the faculty looking for? What do you look for as, for example, if we are planning to go to school for music, what type of qualities are you looking for in a student?
That's an excellent question, and I understand that everyone is concerned about that. One of the things that you need to know first when you are applying to a music school in the United States is what the level of the school is. There are hundreds of universities in the United States, maybe thousands actually, and each of them have a music department. So for some schools, the music department will be what we call a kind of service department, where they're simply offering music instruction to everyone who's there studying biochemistry or something like that. So it's not a serious music degree or professional degree that you're pursuing. And then you go all the way up to the very top level schools, which are some of the best in the world. Curtis, Juilliard, I put Michigan up there, Eastman, Indiana, schools like that, of course. Then there are audition requirements that you have to meet when you're getting there. Just like any admission requirement to any university, you have to have a certain test score, you have to have good grades. At these major schools, there are certain audition requirements for repertoire that you must meet, and also you have to be able to perform them at a certain level that will mean that you will thrive at that school. So I do want to say that from our perspective, we do make judgments about who is worthy to come and study at our school or who should not come and study at our school. And that, although somebody who does not make it through the audition, it seems like a kind of judgment against you. But actually, it's a good thing, because we say, you might be good, but we don't think that you'll work at our school in this way. And I think that if you find a good teacher, maybe at a, quote, lesser school, but who will really invest in you and believe in you, that is worth far more than going to the better school, but not having the teacher that invests in you. So,
I wholeheartedly agree with that. Well, because I myself actually go to a quote-unquote a smaller music school for my undergrad. I did not go to Eastman right away for my undergrad. I went to a liberal arts college, actually, Texas Christian University, who has a school of music within the university itself. And then the student body is definitely so much smaller. Can you share a little bit? For example, I think the ones that everybody always talk about is, what do you need to prepare for the entrance audition, I guess. But at this time, it's just like, do you look for any other things besides the performance itself?
yeah, absolutely, that's for sure. And it's not that we, the faculty, are looking for that, but the administration of the school is looking for that. English is really important. I'm sorry to say, and every school has their own kind of score for that, but you should know. I mean, so for instance, some of the major schools have very low TOEFL scores, you know, low around the 60s or 70s, as it were. Some schools have high TOEFL scores, and some schools who wish to limit the number of people who are actually coming put their scores so high, it's astonishing in a way. So, I mean, my own schools is fairly, it's on the high side, but it is moderately achievable, I think, for most people who come. So English is very, very important. You have to have good grades. And if you're applying for the undergraduate, you should investigate taking the SAT test, which is what all undergraduate students take in the United States, for sure. So those things are outside of that. And also, depending upon the school, you might want to invest in lots of outside experiences. So for instance, if you want to go to Harvard, for instance, which does not have a music undergraduate program, but you can apply to study at New England School of Music at the same time, for instance. But Harvard is going to really want to see how you are living your life. What kinds of things interest you outside of music? They want to see that you're really good at music, for sure. They want to see evidence of excellence, but they also want to see that you are concerned about the environment, for instance. I mean, don't write about the environment to get into Harvard. I don't know what they're looking for, but they want to see that that you enjoy making food, which would be great for Indonesians, I think. Also, they want to see, that you have interests that make you an interesting person in and of yourself, not just that you're excellent in doing whatever you want to study.
Yes, definitely. I think to become a whole human being, I guess, instead of just a student. Speaking about University of Michigan, Ayu, why did you choose University of Michigan?
I mean, it's one of the best schools in the United States for like music, but most importantly, I think it's because of the teacher, which is Professor Harding. And I think in music, it's very important. I feel like the relationship between the teacher and the student, it's so much more important than the rank of the school, for sure. Because it's just what I feel that is one of the privileges being a music student, a music university student, is that you really get to work very closely with the professors, in which maybe in other departments like economics and things like that. In undergraduate, you don't really get to work that close with the professor. It's more into like a bigger setting of like a class, right? But I feel like one of the privileges for music students is just to be able to work very closely with the professor. And of course, at the University of Michigan, I took my master's in my piano pedagogy and performance, in which they offer a full tuition scholarship that comes with a teaching contract as well, in which I really find that very valuable as well. So I think that's one of the things that really want me to go to University of Michigan. Yeah, and then when I visit there, it was very snowy. It was very snowy. Which, can I live here?
That's the best weather for school, though. That means that you don't have any distractions and you don't want to be outside.
That is actually very true. In Michigan, in Ann Arbor, every day we see deers. We see ducks. Or just roaming around the school. But it made us want to just stay in school. So I think University of Michigan in itself, its community, its high level of expectations, I guess, but still giving a very safe space to grow. I think that's one of the good qualities of University of Michigan in the School of Music, Theater, and Dance. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Especially when we're talking about schools, I feel like there are a lot of variables, right? Whenever you're choosing for a school, you want to see whether or not you have good chemistry with the teacher. Because meeting someone for 4 years, let's say for undergrad, meeting somebody every single week for 4 years, and you don't really have good chemistry with the teacher, I think that's actually going to be very miserable.
For the professor as well, I have to say.
It's not only just for us, right? But I think in general, I think it's just like the chemistry between you and the teacher. You have to want to study with this person. You have to have respect for them. You have to like the way that they communicate. You have to communicate well. You have to like the way that they play. Sometimes I feel like those are the type of qualities, because again, talking about music, I feel like sometimes it can get into subjective matters, and personality is certainly subjective, and I really do agree. Another one, as Ayu mentioned, is financials. Yeah. That's also another thing. It's just like scholarship is a huge part of it. Mm-hmm. And I heard you mention as well the other day during the performance that University of Michigan now offered fully funded master's program.
Master's and doctorate is fully funded for us. And that, I think, is true for many, many schools across the United States, that the graduate degrees have assistantships that they offer. Whether it's full tuition or not, at Michigan it is full tuition plus a stipend for teaching, and that happens at Indiana as well. I happen to know since I did my grad work there, and other schools have the same kind of thing. But for us, graduate study is completely free at Michigan.
Jealous. Well, at Eastman, I think we have some have full, some have partial. It's a mix between those. But what can you do in order for you to guarantee? Let's say that for undergrads, then, if it's not fully funded, like if you get into the master's and doctoral programs, that means that woohoo, you're done. But what about the undergrads? Let's say. What are the chances that they're going to get scholarships? And then if yes, what are the range of scholarships that, for example, like that University of Michigan offers?
Those are trade secrets,
Oh,
in a way.
sorry.
No, actually, so at Michigan, we do offer scholarship help for the undergraduates. It's not as much money as we would like to be able to give to everyone, because I personally think if you are performing well and you are of a certain level, you should get full tuition everywhere, you know, as it were. Some schools are like that in the United States. Colburn in the West Coast is full tuition. Curtis on the East Coast is full tuition. And if a school really wants you badly and they decide that we're going to invest in that student, they can give you as close to full tuition as possible. So, I mean, it used to be when I was a student that we would apply to 3, maybe 4 schools. These days, students are applying to 10, 11, 12 schools because it becomes a money game. Who might give them the most scholarship? But, and you know, we're fighting always at Michigan. We say, we really want this student. We're going to give them this high scholarship. But then some other schools say, no, we really want that student, so we're going to give them $10,000 more or something like that. It becomes a little bit of a problem as far as that goes at the undergrad level. So to answer your first question, we do help as many students as we can, as significantly as we can. So,
Yes, and that's all usually based on your audition, your performance in the audition?
yes, it's performance in the audition. That is primary for sure. Nobody's going to pay for you if they don't think you're very good. Okay, so that's number one.
So practice well.
That's, yes, absolutely. But also we take into account financial need, which for international students is always very high because it's expensive to live in the United States, and they are not eligible for federal help from our government. So, in general.
Yes.
So.
Yes, I remember that too. When I was applying for undergrad, that was also, I applied to 6 schools. And that's right. It's just like, because it's not only just about whether or not you can get into a certain school, but whether or not, I mean, you can get in, that's great. But the feasibility of being able to sustain your education for the next 4 years, that's also something, because financial responsibility is financial responsibility. Either way, it's just like either you afford it through scholarship or you afford it through other scholarship, like for example in Indonesia, I think we have LPDP dan yang teman-temannya yang seperti itu. It's government scholarships from Indonesia, but also it's just like father and mother scholarship. That's also parents helping out your education. That's also another thing. I'm gonna pivot a little bit to maybe. Now that we already talked somewhat about the admission process, but let's talk about what do you do once you get in. So I want to go into Daniel actually for this one, because can you share a little bit about your journey as a musician, and what paths you take, and did you do school for music right away, and if not, what did you do, and how is your path leading up to you getting where you are right now?
Okay, thank you, Edith. So I started my musical journey with, of course, the piano lesson. It was fantastic lesson. I had a very brilliant teacher as well. She was a Japanese. And then suddenly, one day, she gave me a new score, new raps. I was so surprised because there was one more staff. And it's for violin. So, oh, it's accompanying. Okay, I was so excited back then. And because I grew up in small city in Central Java, Solo, Surakarta. Yeah, so the classical music exposure there is not very big, like in Jakarta, Surabaya, even, of course. So all I know back then is just playing solo and orchestra or maybe big band. That's the most classical thing. Okay, so after that, I started falling in love with accompanying, uh, starting from the instrument like violin and then flute, and then finally in my uni, uh, I accompany a choir as well. I accompany singers. I met so many brilliant singers, and then, but one thing I did not do music for my bachelor degree. Yes, I did accounting instead. Well, that's because of my parents want me like that. So I had to finish my academic degree and everything. And then after that, you can pursue anything you want. Okay, then I finish it. So after that, like maybe 7 years after, in my 30s, so jadi ketahuan. Okay. In my 30s, finally, well, got it so well, and then I got got scholarship. Someone pay my tuition for my master degree. So I went to for my master degree in the UK. Yeah, like that. So that's all.
Okay. And what I think this is very interesting because whenever we learn piano, as Daniel mentioned, it's just like a lot of the times we started playing with solo music, and then you just play on your own, you practice on your own, you perform on your own, you compete on your own, and then it's very rare to have. I don't think that there's that many in Indonesia, right? The collaborative,
yes.
yeah, the
I
ones
guess so.
that,
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's you
I-
and Jesslyn.
Jesslyn
Probably
Gunawardana
the one
in
in
Surabaya.
the one in
Yeah.
Surabaya. I think it's only
Melifia.
Oh, Melivia, but Melivia does not live in.
doesn't
Yes.
really.
Melivia is another friend of ours who does collaborative piano, but she now lives in the States. But what got you into wanting to pursue collaborative piano very seriously?
I think since the day one, I accompanied the other student who play violin back day. I was already like falling in love with the process, with the chemistry, with the situation. Like, it was so nice for me to like discuss the music together and then to like talk about the ideas behind the repertoires, and then you have to like build the chemistry through go somewhere together, eat dinner together, or you do something like that. And then after that, I met singers. Singers are very different with instrumentalists as well, yes. You know. Okay, and from that, back then in my bachelor uni time, I felt like, oh, this is the thing I want to do for the rest of my life. And back then I didn't know that there was school like specifically for collaborative piano. Yes, and then I think it's around 2014. I knew that one of my friend, she was a brilliant collaborative pianist as well, and she got into the school I wanted to go, and then I was so surprised, and I was so excited for her because I didn't know that there is faculty that's specific for collaborative piano like that. So yeah.
Just out of curiosity, how many of you here actually knows that there are school for collaborative piano? One. but that's the thing too. It's just like because sometimes I feel like, especially in Indonesia, everybody when we talk about going to school for music or going to school for piano, everybody always assume that it's always the performance route. Like there is no other options. I want to say options because as much as performance is important, and I think all of us will agree that you have to play well, regardless of what you pursue. You have to be able to play well. But there are different specialties, I guess, that you can go into. speaking of, maybe we can pivot back to Ayunia. Ayunia is now doing pedagogy. So what does that mean?
I get that questions a lot, actually. What do you do in pedagogy? Well, pedagogy, I like to think as like how to become a better teacher, because as music teachers, we deal with different kinds of students. And it's kind of like a pedagogy is where we just equip these teaching tools in many aspects in terms of like the history of teaching, how to teach better and how to pick repertoires better, or things like that. It's just anything that is correlated with how to accommodate students better. I think I'd like to think of it that way. I also, as Daniel mentioned about collaborative degree, I didn't know back then that there was a piano pedagogy major before. I got exposed to it because during my undergrad year, in my third year, I had to take a piano pedagogy class. So I'm like, okay, so there's a class that teaches you how to teach. So I just got so much intrigued about that I decided for a master's degree, I am applying to schools that has a pedagogy major. But then I also do still want to pursue the performance major as equally important as well. So that's why I felt like University of Michigan was the perfect place for me, because I know that they are very strong in their piano performance as well as the piano pedagogy major as well. So I just thought that's just my path. Yeah. And yeah, I think in terms of piano pedagogy as well, I've always been loving to teach since I was like middle school. I would like tutor my friends and they would like ask me, questions about like social science or things like that, or math, or like I was just like, I just like the feeling of teaching. And my first ever experience in teaching piano was actually I was just like a practice coach of my my teacher's daughter. So that's just my first time teaching. I was so flustered because like it's the first time and I feel so frustrated. Like I wish I could accommodate this student better, but it's just I have no really I was not exposed to how to teach before. It was just like, just try it out.
I think that's also something that is very common in Indonesia. The fact that piano teachers are not equipped in pedagogy knowledge. A lot of the times it's just like because you learn how to play piano, and then you teach piano, but you don't actually learn how to teach. I think.
Yeah, I agree. And that's also the reason why that's one of my aspirations, I guess, pursuing piano pedagogy, so that I could also help facilitate the future music teachers to be able to give them the tools that I was craving for before. I think, that's one of the things that intrigued me to piano pedagogy.
Yes. Adding towards this is just like you gotta help me later on, because we at WPTA Indonesia, we at WPTA Indonesia actually has a piano teacher certification program where we teach teachers how to teach. Because I think it is actually very important, especially when you're dealing with younger students, and then because most of the time for us teachers, it's very easy, right? It's just like, what's so difficult about reading music, for example? For us, it comes very naturally now. We forgot how it was, or for a 5-year-old or for a 6-year-old to start reading. I think it's something that's for sure. We definitely need more people like you. Okay, so is there any questions so far? Still quiet. Okay, let's keep on going. What about you, Professor Harding? Were you also? I know that you are a teacher. You're also a performer. You're also a chamber musician. When you were in school, what did you do? Was it any degree like them or?
No,
Okay.
although I took a pedagogy class for sure.
Okay.
One thing that I want to say is that everything that we do, it all interconnects. So we start out learning piano solo because that's how you learn piano. But then soon enough, you have to be given the collaborative piano, the collaborative work with violin or something like that. We all do that. We all play with other people. We all teach. We all perform. I mean, even the great, great pianists who make their living by performing, people like Lang Lang or Yu Jia Wang, they give master classes. They're teaching as well. And they collaborate with other people. And they organize and they administrate. All these things that we learn come together. But we have to start someplace, which is piano performance. And that's what I did. Before I went to college, I was a soloist. I had played with orchestra. I had played with some chamber musicians. I did some very few piano trios, I remember. My brother was a kind of violinist of sorts, and we played together, Mozart violins, and you know, that sort of thing. And I had done those things. But when I went to my undergraduate degree, I wanted to be a soloist. My goal was, by the time I was a senior, I was going to have management, I was going to be out playing, and so forth and so on. And then when I got to my master's degree, and had to be a GSI at the school where I was, a GSI is graduate student instructor, although the school that I went and called it associate instructor, I had to give my first piano lesson as the real teacher. Of course, I had taken a pedagogy class, but I was the real teacher. And I cried in my first lesson. I was behind the students, so I was crying, the student was playing and so forth. And he was, I remember his name was Andrew Eastridge. I don't know if he's still out there playing, and he told me that he composed his own music because it got the girls, okay? So he was playing for me his piece, and I just started to cry because I realized that this was my calling. Teaching for me was easier than breathing. I mean, so I said, okay, that's what I really, really need to be doing. But of course, I was still competing. I was still performing, trying my best to establish the career that I have, as it were, because you must have that. Because I'm kind of a proud person. I said, I want to teach, but I want to teach at the best school possible, as it were. So in order to do that, you also have to have a pretty significant performance record, as it were. So I was doing all that kind of thing. I love chamber music. I've coached chamber music all my professional life, I have to say, and I feel that chamber music actually is some of the best work that composers do, because oftentimes they are composing for people that they know, they're friends. So if you play a Brahms piano trio, or you play a Beethoven string quartet, or you do something, those are people that they know, and they put their best effort into the composition. So for instance, I'll say something that's probably pretty heretical. I'm not such a huge fan of Brahms's solo music, except for 118. That's a great, great piece.
Agree.
But I love his chamber music. I played a great deal of it because it's so fabulous. It really has a lot to say. So, and of course, his solo music is fabulous too. It's just that I adore his chamber music. So that's how I have kind of built my career. When I got my first job at little tiny Brevard College in North Carolina, I did a lot of chamber music. I established a lot of series. I created a lot of fundraising opportunities. I did a lot of stuff in addition to teaching piano performance, which prepared me for the job that I have at Michigan, because that's the kind of person they were looking for, somebody who could do many things and do it as best as they could. So
I think that's one of the things that everyone always, I guess it's, let's just debunk the myth. Just practice. Everything will turn out great later on. True? False?
60% true. So, I mean, I feel like as the faculty member here, I've got to say you must be practicing. I say that every week. You must be practicing about this.
But that is one of the things, though. It's just like, because I feel like who here is who's learning piano is just like every single time we are always being told to practice more, practice more, practice more, practice more, practice more, practice more. I feel like I haven't been in school for quite some time, and my teacher's still like, what have you been practicing lately? Like, that is still the question that he asks me, even though I graduated quite some
But
time
you know
ago.
why it is? The piano repertoire, including collaborative repertoire, is so vast. I mean, there are thousands upon thousands of pieces, and there's no chance that we can ever get to anything in our life. That's one. So just to get through as much repertoire as you can, which is good, because the dirty secret is that when you get out of school, there's no time to practice. There's, well, maybe 2 minutes you can practice. So then there's that. The other thing is that it's a physical skill that you have to keep up. I mean, you must, if you're a tennis player or a swimmer, you have to be practicing every day. So it's a physical thing. But the reason I said it's only 60% true is that we play piano and we study music because it has great truths about life to understand and to communicate. And you cannot communicate about life unless you're living your life, you know. So you have to live life artistically. You have to enjoy the food that you're eating. You have to enjoy the countryside. You have to enjoy people. You have to learn from that. You need to read. You need to watch movies. You need to spend time arguing with your family. You need to just live a very healthy and rich and fabulous life in order to have something to say. Stuff has to go in order for stuff to come out, as it were. So that's really important as well.
That's amazing. But yes, and I think that's true too. It's just like, because I feel like right now, at least in Indonesia, there's no way for us, I think, because classical music in Indonesia, as big as it is, it's not yet possible, I think, for us to just make a living out of performing. So then obviously as a pianist, for example, like me, I perform, yes, but then I also still have to teach. I curate programs. I do this type of things. Me and my friends created the piano teacher certification program. There are a lot of things that you have to do. Unfortunately, it's not enough to just, as much as I also still try to practice. I promise you, I try to practice as much as I can. but that's the thing. And I think Daniel can probably say the same thing, right? You're also teaching, even though you're also performing as a collaborative pianist right now.
Yeah, sure. So I actually kind of divided my week into like, so from Monday to Wednesday, I don't have any teaching at all. So I will use that days to focus on myself, focus on another rehearsal. But from Thursday to Saturday, which today, I have teaching and it's full. Yeah, so what I learned, why I decided to do that is before I went to school, I kind of feel burnt out because I teach almost every day and I've got no time and energy to practice at the end of the day. So I think that's not healthy. So I think after the school, I learned a lot from my professor, how they teach me, how they like discuss the music, how they address the problem to the student, how they communicate if there is something wrong, and then so on. I learned a lot from them, and then from them, I learned a lot that study and then practice, life has to be in balance, in according to be a whole musician. Yes, like that.
I agree. And then my old teacher, not old, I mean, I guess he is old, but my former teacher, he was still performing full recitals at the age of 75 back then. And then when I asked him why he does that, and he learned still new pieces, and then he told me, it was just like, well, if I want to teach you, I have to know how it feels to do it myself, so then I know what it feels like to learn new things, so then I can tell you how to learn things. If not, then it's always, you're kind of separated from the art of learning music itself. You don't experience it for yourself, and then so it's really difficult to be inspiring your students as well if you don't actively do this yourself. I feel like Ayu wants to say something.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with what you say. And in terms of like music learning, process is very important, right? I think all of us would agree, like the process of learning music is something that is very valuable. And that is something that we have to like learn how to process things and how to live with the process and then how to be okay with the slow process or like everything else in between. And I think that personal experience of having different experiences when you perform or when you have a memory slip or when you have something that's just traumatic for you, and when you feel like you are able to share that with your students, not just the glittery things about the successful performances, but also the struggles within it. I think that's something that is resonating a lot with at least my students whenever they have like tough times. We could say like, I've experienced that and that's okay, and that's just part of the process of you growing. So that kind of approach, I think, is just very valuable for our students as well. So
I agree. One last question from me before we go to the questions from the people online. This is very exciting. But a lot of people always ask, and I'm going to be very frank and blunt here. It's just like, why do you do school for music for such a long time? Like, for example, I was in the States for 10 years. My bachelor's for 4 years, 2 years for master's, and then another 4 years for my doctorate. So I spent 10 years for higher education trying to be a musician. But what is it for you guys? Why do you learn music for such a long time? And then why do you have to go through that process, for example? I think it's always nice because I think everyone always have a little bit of a different answer to this. It's not just because I want the papers. The papers are great, but that's not the reason why we do this. And I'm just curious as to like why. For example, why did you stay in school for a long time? And why do you stay in school for a long time? And why do you stay in school for a long time?
Who should start? Should I start? Okay, I'll start, sure. Well, I think first time when I was asked by Professor Harding during my master's, you probably also remember that I said I don't want to go to doctoral degree because I just want to like finish it. I want to start teaching. I was just, I'm done with school after master's. But then several things happened. Because music school, we're in a learning environment all the time. We spend most of our time, daily time in school, where we are inspired by so many things, in which like one of them of course is our friends that are surrounding us, that is very inspiring, our teacher, Professor Harding in my case, that kind of sparks more curiosity, in which I felt like that just something and that keeps me going in terms of like I'm still curious. I feel like I still haven't really learned the best of things that I want to learn. That kind of yeah. And also I still remember my conversation with you. So Edith is a kompor. Kompor is like, what do you call stove that you lights up like, come on, go to doctoral degree. But like
should I say sorry to Professor Harding?
But like I am very thankful for you as well in terms of like just also being a part of sparking that curiosity and just keep pursuing. If you want to do it, like you would rather do it, if you don't do it you might regret it. So I think that's what kept me going, and I think yeah I don't yeah, I think that's how I feel about it.
Do we still have time? Yeah, of course. So for me, first thing first is because I love it. I really love learning things like endlessly, especially in music, especially in piano accompaniment. I always aim to be like the best, like the best collaborative pianist I've ever heard in the YouTube, on even in real. Um, but blessing in disguise while I went to school is I got the chance to learn how to teach as well. Yeah, it was like, wow, I didn't expect that after I graduated. I got a lot to talk. I got a lot to give to my students like that. So I think it's back to because I'm doing what I love and I'm passionate about what I'm doing.
I think that's also true, right? It's just like you can always give more from a full cup. So like if you learn more, you can give more as well to your students. So it's just like it's passing it through. That's wonderful.
I will say that one of the reasons that we keep students for as long as they want to keep coming is that there is a real spiritual growth in their hearts, in their minds, which you can't always predict. You can't always say that a 17-year-old is here, a 24-year-old is here, a 26-year-old is here, and so forth. And I have been so gratifyingly impressed by how people grow at the most unexpected times in a way. I just had a student do very well in a major international competition, and she was doing very well in preparing for other competitions and so forth and so on. But in the 6 months or 7 months before she went to this major international competition, I saw a growth that I had never seen from anyone else before. And I didn't know why, and she was 25, 26 years old when this is happening, and I hadn't predicted it, but that kind of growth needs some kind of guidance. If I hadn't been there as her professor, I'm not sure it would have happened, and I don't think it would have happened with any sense of orderliness or effectiveness, as it were. Although we're all growing throughout our life, there's no question about that. But to be in school and to have that growth helped along and interpreted and even encouraged, that's very valuable.
I agree. I to add to that is just like I feel like I was in school for 10 years, and then everyone always asks me, it's like, aren't you bored being in school? And then the funniest part about this, the answer is no. And then I think the reason why was because that is the most wonderful time in your life, because you can soak up as much as you want with no limit, with as many resources as you have. And not only that you learn the knowledge, but I feel like being in school for longer, I want to say that when I was in undergrad, I feel like I learned basics. I feel like I learn knowledge. Like I see what people tell me. And then only during my master's degree where it starts to like assimilate in my head. It's just like, oh, this is, and I am able to like look at things from my own perspective instead of like always being told by somebody else, this is the way that you're supposed to be doing this. And then I feel like that process probably, as you said, it's different for each and every single person. But for me personally, just like I think it was during my doctorate where I was just like, how do I use this knowledge to actually create something meaningful? Because having the knowledge versus actually using the knowledge is two very different thing. You can play, but can you teach? You can play, but can you play with somebody else? Like that's always right. It's just like the learning part, sure, but then how to actually use it for something else. I think that takes time, and as you said, it has different timing, I think, for everyone. But I was very grateful, and 10 years I feel like it's not long enough. And after I finished my doctorate, I still took another like program for another year. So, and I felt that now I miss school even now. It's just like I still look for opportunities to go for summer programs and to have lessons and all of those type of stuff, because it's just there's always more things to learn, and there are always more things to learn. Okay, so any questions from? Oh, okay. There's a microphone. It's coming to you.
Hello. So I would like to ask about if there's any advice that you guys would have for musicians who are going to music school, conservatory, or is there like anything that you wish you'd have done differently? Or maybe you're glad that you did in music school. So yeah, that's my question. Thank you.
Well, I will answer that. Well, I'm not sure how to answer that actually, because I made the most of every opportunity that I could when I was in undergraduate and master's and so forth. I'll tell you something though about being in the practice room or living life. So I met someone in my first year of undergraduate school. She was an oboist, okay? And she really became my best friend, I have to say. But oboists make reeds. I don't know if you know what that is. They have to make something into which they blow to make their instrument go. And I used to sit up with her while she made reeds, like all night, as it were. And so I would get up, and then I wasn't able to get up to practice in the morning. So that girl became my wife, actually. So it was a very good investment. But I always say that I should be a better pianist than I am because I wasted so much time, in a way, not practicing, as it were. But I got a wife out of it, which is like the best thing for sure. So how should I say, when you go to school, you have to, as we were talking about earlier, you have to really think carefully about what is good to be doing. Musicians have to do this because you go to school and you're taking piano lessons for 4 credits, 6 credits, or whatever it is, and you're expected to practice for 4 to 6 hours a day when you're there. I mean, that's our expectation for sure. No other degree has that expectation just for one class. And they're like, oh, come on out, we're gonna go drinking, or we're gonna go for ice cream, or we're gonna go to the football game, or we're gonna do something. You have to say, well, I've gotta practice, as it were. You really have to be thinking about your life. Sometimes it's important to blow off your practice and go to the football game, for sure. Like maybe once a semester, you can do that.
Noted.
But really thinking about your time and how to manage it and what's important, that's a very big discussion maybe a big discussion in truth with your family and so forth, just to make sure that you're well-grounded and thinking about what you're doing. That's important.
I agree. And I think for me is soak up as much as you can, because when you're in school, that is the time, I think, for in Indonesia we have the word kiasu. For me, it's as greedy as possible. But I do feel that when you're in school, you are at the presence of a lot of great faculty. You're at the presence of a lot of great teachers. And the best part about being collaborative pianist, I was also a collaborative pianist during my time at Eastman, is that the fact that I don't only learn from my teacher, but I also learn from the cello teacher. I also learn from the voice teacher. I also learn from the violin teacher. Those are the type of things. Take and look for as many opportunities as you can, because you never know what life is going to throw at you at the end. I was teaching history. I was teaching music theory. I got a gig teaching keyboard literature. That I do not know how to teach before, but who cares? It's okay. Let's just do it. And then you try as much as possible, trying to figure out how to do things, because that's the place where you can try out a lot of things. That's where even if you fail, there's a lot of a safety net, because you are still in school, you are still learning. And I feel like be as greedy to the level of, don't burn yourself out, but greedy as possible for me, because those times when you're out of school, you don't have those opportunities anymore. Mm-hmm. And
it's not just that. There's a story that I always remember that I read when I was young. And the story was about a man who was in a desert, and he heard a voice at night saying, "Fill your pockets with stones." So he put some stones in his pocket, and the next morning he saw that they had turned into diamonds or rubies or something. And his first thought was, why didn't I put more stones in my pocket last night, as it were? That's really the case. Everything that you do in life, but especially in music school, everything can be useful for your future. Even if you're just sitting there playing the same 24 Italian arias and songs, as it were, with a singer who can't really sing, it's valuable. It's going to be useful to you.
I also agree. I feel very resonated with all of them. And I felt that school is where you experience things. No matter how you think about yourself, like, oh, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this. I don't think I'm going to be able to do that. But school is the safest place for you to do those things. I felt like during my undergraduate years, for some reason, I ended up being a pianist for a ballet classes. So I was like, can I really do this? Can I really improvise? Can I really try to accompany them and based on the type of dances that they're doing? And I was so clueless. I was so nervous. But there were some people that helped me. For example, like the teacher that no the pianist that has worked for the ballet school for a while, and they're like, okay, you can just do this and pick this kinds of music for this type of dances and things like that. I would have never thought that I would be able to like experience that, but I got that from my experience and for the sake of learning to be a better something. But like those types of things are the things that felt very valuable to me. And in my graduate degree, I, for some reason, was just so involved with the Music Teacher National Association. I started just being a treasurer and then secretary, and then maybe I'll try to be the president. And I tried it, even though I don't really know if I could actually do good things could serve good things for the community. But I learned so much about myself, and I learned so much about what I can try to offer in the world. And I think that just opened to so many experiences in terms of organizing things and like exposing myself to like my first ever like music teacher symposium and conferences, which we haven't really have one here in Indonesia. That is just very valuable to me. So just, yeah.
Maybe you can organize one for us next time.
Yay! We'll try. That's one of my things that I want to do.
Can I add two more things? I think these two things are very important for you. First is to build a good connection with everybody you met later. Please leave a good impression to the teachers, to all of your friends. I'm pretty sure during the bachelor, especially in piano performance, someone say that it will be lonely because you have to spend a lot of your time practicing, of course. But make sure you've got very balanced life. Maybe you can practice on the weekdays, and then on weekend you can just hang out. And then after that, second important thing is you have to have a vision, a clear vision for yourself. Like, what do you want to be after you graduated later? Yeah, I think that those two things are very important. Yeah.
I also agree in terms of the vision. Maybe like it's okay to not know what you're doing first. It is okay to do that, but through all of the experiences that you will have later on in your university life, it will maybe lead you up to a path that you didn't think that you were going to do before. I think that's what makes you unique later on in the future. Like, keep searching what you want to pursue. Keep searching of what your vision is throughout your journey. So just keep it open and keep trying to be inspired. Yeah.
Okay, we do have a lot of questions from people online. No, it's all good. First one is from Budi. What are the most important factors to consider when choosing a music school or program abroad?
Teacher.
Okay, easy.
Agreed.
Next.
That is the most important.
That is the most important. That is true. I think it's also very normal, actually, especially in music, to reach out to a teacher, to be able to converse beforehand, email the teachers that you're interested in studying with, send them maybe a recording of your playing or this or that. I think, is there a lot of people doing every day? See,
yes,
do it.
So it is true. It is useful to have recordings, but oftentimes you'll get, recordings from people, links to recordings, and say, "This is my entire repertoire for the last year and a half. Please listen to all of it and give me comments, as it were."
So probably not that.
Not like that.
Okay.
No. So, but if you email and say, you know, I've heard about you. I would like to ask you some questions. Here's a link to my playing. They'll probably listen to 15 or 20 seconds of it to get an idea of who you are, and then that connection is made. That's quite important.
That is true. For all the schools that I have applied to, at least the one that I ended up going to, I've always known the teacher prior to me actually accepting an offer from that school. I feel like being able to know who you're studying with is definitely very, very important. But make that connection. Would you make that connection before you actually go for the audition? I think a lot of people, and a lot of teachers like that too, because they also want to get to know you if they're going to work with you for the next 4, 6, 10 years. Okay, next question is from Chia. How does studying music in the US or other countries differ from music education in Indonesia? Well, maybe this one goes for our other panelists.
I think it depends on what you're looking for. I mean, in the US, if we were to say, or other countries, we are very fortunate to have more live performances from many worldwide artists that serves as one of our inspirations and biggest inspirations as well. And it's just like when you're visiting to other countries, like when you're in vacation and you go to Japan and you see this different kinds of like different way of life and different way of people handling things, people lining up so neatly and things like that, you know, that just opens up to a different kind of student. Maybe, oh, I like that. Oh, maybe I don't really like that much. And you kind of are able to apply that or just choose what you think is important to you. And you apply it back to, if you were to go back to Indonesia, then you would want to share that good experiences or bad experiences. And that just opens up to a lot of possibilities and a lot of meaning into your life. I don't know. Yeah, I think that's
Daniel, anything to add?
No.
No?
For now, no.
Oh, okay. I feel like what's different is the fact that you have a huge community. Like, I think
Yes.
that being in school
Yes.
itself, I think. Because in Indonesia, I don't think that we have that type of institution like the ones that we have in the States, where everyone is so, I want to say, determined
Right.
to do well. And like, they're all very passionate about doing this. And I feel like, sometimes I feel like the community is what I miss the most.
Yeah.
Being back in Indonesia compared to when I was in school. I feel like everyone, like, you know, like that feeling of 24/7, like wanting to talk about something that feels like very exciting to you.
Yeah.
But then over here, sometimes I was just like, I don't have enough friends.
That is very true.
I think that's one of the, because as much as you learn from your professor, I think you also absorb
Yep.
a lot of inspiration and a lot of you learn also from your friends, you learn from your colleagues, you learn from your students even. So I feel
Very
like
true.
those type of things is invaluable, I guess, when you're studying music in a higher ed institution. Third one, Pinka asks, what are some scholarships or financial aid options available for international students pursuing music studies? I think we touched a little bit for this earlier. Unfortunately, especially in the States, you cannot apply for a federal grant when you apply for schools over there. So the tuition usually, at least my scholarships throughout this 10 years that I was there, it's always coming from the school. Either some sort of a grant, some sort of a scholarship from the school. Sometimes it's one lump sum from the school. Sometimes it's like a combination of a few smaller scholarships that end up being quite a significant amount for that. But there are more things to apply to. When I was in school, I remember that I can apply for certain fundings from the school for projects or this or that that also can help to fund my studies. Is there anything that I missed?
Well, I think Indonesia is getting better and better in terms of like giving scholarships to abroad, especially when during my time in Michigan. I think there's more and more people, at least from the graduate studies that got grants from the LPDP, which I think is a very valuable thing. They get stipend as well. Even they get like money without even needing to work there. So I think that's very, very nice. You could join competitions.
Well, that's true. That is true.
But I mean, yeah. But like merit-based scholarships as well. I think that's also one of the things that we could search for later on there too. Yeah.
Speaking about that, just want to reiterate what Professor Harding says. It's just like it is actually easier to get funding when you're a graduate student compared to when you're an undergraduate student, because usually as a graduate student you do work at the school, you do some work at the school as well, so that will grant you stipend. They usually also covers your education, and after we see what happened with Daniel, it's also very possible for you to pursue a higher education, like a graduate degree in music, even without an undergraduate music degree. So just because you don't have an undergraduate music degree does not mean that you cannot be pursuing higher education abroad. Just remember that. Well, next question, Arya. How can a student prepare a strong music portfolio or audition tape for international programs?
Well, so I mean, when you are auditioning for a school and you're sending a pre-screening tape, so generally for the major schools of music, December 1st is the deadline for your whole application. You have to have everything in at that point, including the recordings of your pre-screening audition. Pre-screening is, we all listen to the pre-screening to decide, is this person worthy of an audition to come? And you should take that seriously. If we say no, that's a good thing, because then you don't have to spend thousands of dollars to come and audition for a spot that you probably won't get in the first place. So the pre-screening audition is very important, especially it's important for undergraduate, but especially for master's and definitely for the doctorate, because it is a kind of pyramid. We accept fewer and fewer people as things go along. So you need to be recording as well as possible in whatever way. Don't use your iPhone, for instance. You need to rent out the best piano possible, find the best space and the best recording acoustic. That might be very expensive, so you might want to just do it all in one session, 1 2-hour session. But if you're going to do it just in 2 hours, then you had better be performing your repertoire in any kind of space possible beforehand to kind of work the kinks out of your repertoire. And then some people simply, you know, they'll do an hour here, an hour here, an hour here, or something like that, and just get as many good takes as possible, because you're not supposed to edit your pre-screening recordings. You should not edit at all. So it is a kind of rigorous process to get through, but that's very important in preparing your audition.
I wonder if the repertoire choices would matter
They
for you.
do matter if, I mean, so you can meet all the requirements. If you're supposed to have a Baroque composition and you choose a Bach 2-part invention, and then you're supposed to have a classic sonata and you choose an early Haydn sonata, and then you do, you know, a song without words by Mendelssohn, I'm choosing certain pieces. That's all on the very lowest end of that, and we would not look upon that favorably. So you have to choose repertoire that you can do very well, because it doesn't matter what you play. It matters how well you play what you're playing, and you should choose stuff that will show that you are of the level that that school expects. We expect a pretty hefty Beethoven sonata or Mozart sonata, a pretty substantial Baroque work, something you know, from Chopin or Liszt that is 10 minutes long, you know, at least that shows a good emotional depth, something spiky maybe from the 20th century. We want to see all these significant milestones in your education.
I agree. I just want to add a little bit to this question, is that when you record 40 minutes, unfortunately, when you have 300 people applying to the school, there's no way that you hear all the 40 minutes. So then sometimes also I feel like if your piece it's pretty, but it's quiet for the first 5 minutes, then it's really difficult for us to judge a lot of things based on the beginning. So it's just like you jump around. And
it's a good point, but we do jump around in the recording. And I've been at Michigan for 20 years. I have heard literally over 4,000 auditions. I know what I'm listening for. If somebody says, you know, I'm playing Opus 81A of Beethoven. I know exactly where to go and what I want to hear and that. And it takes me only a few seconds to say that person's in or that person's not, because I know, as it were. So when you're recording, you have to make sure everything that you do is to the best of your ability, because you never know where they're going to go in the recording. But we, on the other side, we know exactly what we're listening
I think
for.
I want that cheat sheet.
It's a lot of money.
No, but it's because I feel like some for example, like I used to have a student that really wants to do music, but then he did not get admitted to the audition process. His pre-screening was nicked, and that was before he studied with me. And then when I asked what he put in for it, and then he said he put in a Chopin Nocturne, and I asked why, and then he was just like, well, that's the one that's shorter, and I'm just like, yeah, but that's not gonna get you anywhere, because Chopin Nocturne, as the song without words, it's a little bit somewhere on the low end of what people expect when you want to apply for an undergraduate program. So repertoire choices, I think that's also one of the things. I feel, yes, someone wants to ask from the audience here. Can we get a microphone, please?
Hello, my name is Gavin, and I'm a composer and also the teacher as well. And I want to address this question especially to Ayunia and Professor Harding. Regarding the composition, regarding your experience as a pianist, have you ever premiere or performed any pieces from the living composers? Thank you.
Well, I have, but you want to go?
I have, yeah. I mean, I've been very privileged to be able to since I was high school, junior high school, because I joined the Ananda Sukarlan piano competition. So I owe it a lot to him of like learning pieces that I've never heard before and doesn't have any recordings before. That's the start of something that I treasure a lot, and that also holds a special place in my heart in terms of, because he's Indonesian and he's an Indonesian composer. And that became one of the things that I would like to promote when I go to the United States, because of that connection between me and the composer and the music itself. So that is definitely something that, yeah, and I also have friends that also composes that, yeah. Yes, I have.
It can be quite exciting and quite exhilarating to work with a composer who's still alive, because there's no performance practice. You do it your best, and then you play it for them, and they might have different ideas. I have played for composers of film music, for instance, where I played the way that I thought, and they said, no, it has to be like this, and it completely changed my understanding of music, in a sense, the aesthetics behind it. That happens a lot with contemporary composers, so it's quite exciting to do it, I have to say.
Yeah, I also want to add, I forgot that, I think it was during 2018 that actually 8 pianists, Indonesian pianists, that just are in Indonesia, in Surabaya, in the summer, and we created this in-universe collaboration concert that we have 4 pianos and 8 pianists performing together, and it was composed by one of our dear friends, Livia Teguh, which is, you know her, yeah. So that was something that's so valuable to me, because I found community there, and actually I met some of them like for the past week, and they're bringing like their students to have a masterclass with Professor Harding as well, and it's just really nice to have that connection. That's yeah, I just think that's just very special to me.
Thank you. And then we have another question here from the audience.
Morning, Professor Harding and all panelists. I'm a Wibi's mom. He's excited to come here. He's playing piano since 3 years ago and still at a music school in Jakarta Conservatory of Music. He wants to ask, but he's so shy, so he asked me to a representative. How to be a great pianist? He knows the Tony Ann, and then he wants to build his career like in industry of music. Thank you.
If there were a straight answer to that question, then we would have a lot of great pianists, I have to say. So the answer to how to world-class artistry is, I'll give the formula again. I gave it on Thursday, and I'll give it now. The words are integrity plus intuition plus love. Integrity is you have to do your work. You have to practice a lot, for sure. You have to study music theory. You have to study music history and know all these things. That takes a long time, and it's not like you have to take a college-level class. There are certain books that you can read. Before I went to college, I read a book called The Lives of the Great Composers by Harold Schoenberg. It was fabulous. It really put me way ahead of all my other peers when I got to music school because I knew a lot about music history and composers about that. I read another book called The Great Pianists by the same author, and I knew about the history of piano, and I was inspired by people who just practiced and practiced and practiced, and people who didn't practice, people who went to art galleries, people who loved to cook food or something, and they brought that to their performance as well. So to be a great pianist is also to be a great person and a great musician. So you have to be nice to your brothers and sisters, you have to be nice to your school, and you have to take in all sorts of living information, but you have to practice for sure. That's the integrity part. Intuition is understanding what's behind all of that, what it means. That's a really important question. What does it mean? And that's not just for pianists, that's for all of our life. When you are interacting with someone and something happens, and then I'm always asking, what does that mean? What does that mean about me? What does that mean about the other person? What does it mean about what's true and what's not true? So, and the way to understand what things mean are simply to love them and to practice loving things. That's something that we have to practice doing. We don't always just wake up in the morning and say, oh, I really want to practice. I really want to study this piece or something. Actually, for me, it's like 99% the other way, that I don't really want to do that. But I have to practice loving those things, practice being committed, practice discipline, and to do what I know I should be doing, to do what my teacher says, to go to concerts, to listen to my parents, in this case. I mean, just to really direct everything in our lives towards getting better. That's the spirit that we need in order to become a great pianist or a great anything else, actually. And that's why studying piano is a great thing for anybody. Even if you want to become a doctor or a lawyer or president of Indonesia, it is important that you study piano because it teaches you discipline and commitment and also makes you ask questions like, why is that important? What does it mean? Those are really important things.
I don't think I want to add to that.
Yeah, me too.
But I think we have some time. Is there anyone here? Oh, okay.
Hello, hi, Professor Harding and Ayunia maybe, because I would like to ask more about the University of Michigan Pedagogy and Performance major. Is it a double major or is it one major in itself? And how are the credit division in those major, in this major? Because in bachelor, maybe during the third or fourth semester, you get pedagogy classes, or the third, yeah, I forgot already, that was 30 years ago. So I just wonder, how are the credits, how many credits, how many hours do you get your pedagogy teaching program? And how about the performances? How is it divided?
Would you mind telling us your name and where you're from?
Yes,
so that
I am Tina Tandela. I have been living here since '93, but I'm from Medan. I'm Emma's mom.
Oh, okay. Yes, I feel like what I treasure most in University of Michigan is that the quite a somewhat balanced divisions of pedagogy and performance, and both of them requires very heavy work load. in terms of where academic. It depends on master's or doctorate degree as well. In my master's, I felt like I had to do a lot of pedagogy courses in terms of group teaching and pre-college teaching, and then I need to also take leveling course. So there's quite a few, maybe 3 or 4 pedagogy courses that I had to take like every term. Apart from that, I also need to teach master classes, teach beginning year group lessons, teach undergraduate non-music or music majors as well, and also pre-college private students, and also beginning. I did a lot. I did a lot of teaching, I would say. But at the same time, the performance aspect for it, we need to still take piano lessons weekly with our professors, and chamber music, which is also optional. If you want to take more, you can take more. So it depends on what you want to kind of do as well for your own. And then still need to take like history classes, theory classes as well, which is I feel like I felt like my masters are very full. But in a doctoral degree, it depends as well on which year that we're talking about. If you're still like a pre-candidate, which is the first 2 years of the degree, you will have to do like for musicology, for DMA seminars, which is about like history of music in terms of its own periods, and then theory classes, and we also take 3 big exams as well. But then after a 3rd and 4th year, we don't need to do any of the classes. we can do whatever. Well, not really whatever, but like we can kind of suit our interest more into which one. Like, do we want to invest more in chamber music or pedagogy or performance or a mix of everything? I have to do a dissertation at the end, and I have to defend my dissertation as well. And I'm involved with the MTNA, which is like a Music Teacher National Association, where I also organize things, but I also present things at the conference. So it's just all sorts of one melting pot. So yeah, that's what I prefer. I would like the most at the University of Michigan. Yes.
I'll only say that our pedagogy majors are very busy. We do emphasize performance as well as pedagogy, but it is a pedagogy degree. However, on the performance side of things, I expect my students in the pedagogy and performance degree to achieve their highest potential as well. And if they come in as excellent pianists with excellent potential, as Ayunia did, then I expect them to really grow as pianists, and Ayunia has. My pedagogy students do national and international competitions. They are performing just as often as my performance students. They're growing very, very well. I'm very proud of Ayunia's growth as a piano performance person, in addition to her wonderful, wonderful possibilities and abilities as a teacher as well. So at Michigan, we stress both, but it is a pedagogy degree, for sure.
Okay. I think we have time for one more question. I think there's, yes.
Hello, my name is Eva. I'm from Bandung. First of all, thank you for the very insightful talk. I'm a piano teacher. I play the piano and the flute, and I'm currently preparing for my master degree in music therapy. Since it is still a very developing field in Indonesia, I would like to hear your insights about how music therapy is practiced in the United States. And could you give me some advices? Thank you.
Okay. Well, I was first. I knew about music therapy when I did like a music festival in Beijing, actually, in Dima Festival. I took just like one course on music therapy, and I was like, oh, there's a music therapy thing happening. But in terms of its scene, through my experience, since I'm in Ann Arbor, Michigan, we have very strong medical school as well. And in this hospital, Mott's Children's Hospital in Ann Arbor, they have a specific place called the Sophie's Place, which is where they have at least 6 or 7 music therapists that is working solely in the hospital, where they curate like concerts, which I was very fortunate to be a part of it as well, where they just do all sorts of musical activities. They have their like a station where the patients could play certain instruments, they could compose some fun things, and it's just connecting music with and making their stay there a little bit more enjoyable. And I just felt so inspired by that as well. And I think it's definitely a growing thing that maybe you could be one of the people that could start a lot of wonderful things here in Indonesia as well. So it is definitely something that is growing and it is alive there. Yeah.
Music therapy is such an amazing field, I have to say. It's not one that I understand extremely well because it deals with touching people in ways in their minds and in their hearts which bypass whatever physical problems they might be feeling at the moment. I mean, that's one way. What Ayunia is talking about, there are music therapists in the hospital system in the United States, but there are also private music therapists or music therapists who work for insurance companies or through government agencies and so forth that go to people's homes and help with this. It is a very, very specialized and compassionate field, and I think can produce pretty amazing results with the very elderly, for instance, who their minds are unlocked by what they hear musically and what they remember musically, by not even elderly people, but people who have mental difficulties or even physical difficulties sometimes. Music and the kind of physical response that we have to music can really unlock those kinds of things. It's a very important field for sure. So I congratulate you in doing this. I think it's a wonderful aspect of study for sure.
Yes. Okay, so because it's already 11:57, I really hope, I'm so sorry if we don't get to your questions both over here and online, but feel free to contact any of the panelists on social media. You can definitely ask more questions there. We still have another event this afternoon at 4 to 6 p.m. If you want to ask more questions, that is also the time if you want to come again. We will have a masterclass with Professor Harding this afternoon where we will also have 2 wonderful students playing. So that is, that concludes our panel discussion for this morning. Thank you so much, guys, for being here.
Thank you.
And then before I close, I really, really want to take time to thank you, U.S. Embassy, and also American Spaces at America. Thank you so much for hosting us this morning. And we really hope that this session was helpful and had a good effect on everyone here and online. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Edith Widayani, and also to our speakers today, Professor Christopher Harding, Ayunia Indri Saputro, and Daniel Adipradhana. Can we give a big round of applause to our moderator and speakers for today? Thank you for the insightful discussion for today. We hope from this discussion answer all of your questions and curiosity to study music in the US. But before we close this event, we would like you to scan this barcode over here. You can prepare your device, please do. Open your camera and scan the barcode over here. Yes, you can scan the barcode over here. It will go to our link or form, so you can share about your thoughts and help us to improve. Yes, it's so easy. You can open your device, scan your camera, and for you watch this online, you can also open your camera and open this link so you can share about your thoughts and help us to improve. So everyone, you can access the link? Yes? Okay. And not only this morning, again, we also have another event with Professor Christopher Harding at 4 p.m. here at America, titled The Art of Piano, a masterclass with Professor Harding and future stars. So you still have time to come here to Ad America at Pacific Place, Jakarta. And thank you so much for coming to Ad America, especially from Alegria Music School. Once again, can we give a big round of applause from Bandung? Thank you so much. And again, thank you so much for tuning in with us. My name is Patricia Elizabeth, and see you at the next At America event. Happy weekend, everyone. Thank you so much. We're gonna take a picture together with moderator and also the speakers. You can just boleh taruh sini aja, Kak. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. We're gonna take a picture. You can lift the microphone here. Yeah.
Oh yes.
Yeah, on chair.